Hello, welcome to Goal Crushing Workshop Part 1. I am excited to chat with you, not only to get my own button here, but because it's really motivating when you have a plan. If you are a type A like me and you like to know everything and all the details, then maybe not having a plan right now could make you a little bit crazy. So what I want to cover in the two-part workshop is, first, I want to start with the what. What do we need to be doing? What went well in 2017? What maybe didn't go so well that we need to tweak? And how do we put it all together into a plan that really makes sense for your business? Then part 2, which is tomorrow, we're going to cover the actual how, because I've really found that when working with the women entrepreneurs is that we don't have a shortage of ideas. It's figuring out how to make those ideas actually come to life in a way that makes sense and doesn't make us want to jump off a bridge. So what I want to do is kind of break it down into 2 parts so it's really manageable for you. And if you know me, you know I love workbooks. So I do have a company workbook for today's session and for tomorrow's session. So make sure you can follow along. It'll have all the questions and I'll be showing you here on the workshop. So if you have not met me yet, this is the first time you've seen me live, I kind of come and go out of hiding. My name is Mallory Slayball and I'm a marketing strategist for women entrepreneurs. Marketing strategist is a lot of mumbo jumbo. Basically what I do is help women figure out how to get visible, get noticed, and get clients in a way that makes sense for your business. I do not advise doing all the things, and I don't want you to be in all the channels and social media and everything. So it's really about finding the perfect fit for you in a customizable way. Maybe think of it as, I've used words like meaningful marketing, ways that just make you feel good about what you're doing and good about who you're attracting. I don't like sleazy tactics. I don't like pounding people. I don't like scaring people. I don't like any of those things you may be seeing or where you feel like you have to do it because it must be working for them. That's not what I teach as well. And the other thing I like to call it is revenue marketing, because I have found, especially with a lot of the women who are starting up, I tend to attract couple groups. I attract startup companies who either have just started out, who have recently launched, or in the first year or 2 of their business and just really haven't taken off the way they want to. Or I attract women on the other end of the spectrum where they've taken off really, really far and they're kind of running, but they're kind of like treading water and they feel like they're going to drown any second. There is just so much coming at them all the time that they don't know how to make it work continually. So growth is not steady. It's been quick, but there's a lot coming at them and they don't know, how to make funnels work for them, how to automate a lot of this process, how to give a lot of the touch points so you're not losing people and your retention rates are higher. So you could fall anywhere in that spectrum, but regardless of where you fall, you have to be making money or you're not going to be in business, right? And for so many of us, we focus so much on marketing being like touchy-feely and just being seen and getting noticed and likes, and which is great, except for that doesn't put money in your bank and that does not help you pay the bills and grow a sustainable business. So what I want you to focus on as we think through these the goal crushing workshop, is to figure out what are the number goals you need to hit and how do we direct your marketing so that it helps you hit those goals. Okay, so I'm going to dive in here and I'm going to share my screen so you can see the workbook that you can download. Actually, all right, let's scroll up to the beginning here, a couple pages. All right, so what you can see here, beautiful pink. I love hot pink. So if you know my brand, you know I like hot pink and yellow. So 2018 goal crushing. This isn't your typical goals workbook. I kind of feel like it's a mishmash of a lot of different goal training techniques, stuff that I've gone through and that I've done in the past. And I guess I've just felt like I've just never really found the perfect solution for me. And so this is why I've created a mashup. This may not be perfect yet, but I definitely like where it takes you by the end of it because it really helps you get a holistic look. I've heard a lot of things in this online space, people calling themselves heart-centered, heart-focused, which has always kind of made me scratch my head. But what I feel like they're really trying to get behind is you're a business that puts people first, right? People over profits. And that's how I like to run my things as well. And so this really takes a look at not only the number side of your business, but it also looks at the people side of your business and you're the most important person in your business. So how do these goals really align with you and what's on your heart, what's on your mind, and what kind of impact you want to have? So with that said, let's dive in. All right, so what I want you to do when you get into this workbook first is we're really going to dive into what happened in 2017, what worked well, and kind of what didn't. So let me walk you through each section and give you a little bit more clarity so that when you're walking through this workbook yourself, you don't feel stuck anywhere. So the first section I have are achievements. And what I found, because I do all these things for myself as well, I don't just give you random things, but what I found when I was going through this was that it was really, really hard to come up with my achievements. I found that it was way easier if I pulled up my calendar and actually looked, oh, my dog's joining us. Hey, Rex. If I actually looked at what happened throughout the whole year. Because if, I don't know about you, but for me, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And once I hit something, I'm looking to the next thing, or I'm looking at what didn't work out and figuring out how to tweak it. That's a little bit how my brain works in the analytical side. But that doesn't help me see my wins and to celebrate my successes and to actually see how far I grew over the year. So if it helps you, pull out your calendar, look at the things you did on your calendar, look at your numbers, look at things that made you feel really great and successful. If you need to, look at your emails you sent out, look at the Facebook Lives you did, look at the stuff you posted to kind of get a glimpse of what actually did you do last year and how did it make you feel. The second thing I want you to do once you kind of have that list is I want you to reflect on, okay, you did all these things, you kind of know how they made you feel, but how do they affect your business in a positive or a negative way? What I found that I didn't expect to find when I kind of answered this question for my own business was some of the things that I thought were super fun. I liked going to them, especially conferences. I liked doing them. Didn't really have a positive effect on my business as far as I didn't see any uptick in numbers. I didn't see any extra revenue. I did have great connections, but it wasn't enough for me to say, yes, I definitely want to do this again. And that's something worth noting, which brings me to the third section, which is learn. So in the learn section, it's kind of I want you to do is think about it in these two different ways. One, I want you to think about it literally, like if you're a consumer of content, especially if you're in a startup phase or you're in a phase where you feel like if you just knew a little bit more, you would feel more confident about what you're doing, then I want you to reflect on, what courses did you buy? What courses did you take? What workshops did you attend? Free or not? What did you sign up for? What blogs did you binge content on? What conferences did you go to? All those things. And what did you actually learn from them? Because you may find you learned a lot, or you may find it was kind of pointless. You just went for it and it was more of a connection or emotional connection to people, which could fill your bucket up. But again, you need revenue. So you need to figure out, are these things worth pursuing in 2018? The second side of that, not only do I want you to see literally what you learned, but I want you to figure out what lessons did you learn from 2017. These could be positive or negative. When I did this with my biggest client this last week, we're in the tech space. We're raising goals. We want to hit 5.5 million in revenue. So in order to get that company, we had to have a bigger mindset. And to make that big leap, we also have to honestly look at what didn't work and what did work. Well, we realized in the industry we're in, we actually weathered a really big decline across the industry, and we still had growth over a year. So we realized that we're pretty resilient no matter what the market conditions are, which was great to learn. But we also learned where people are falling off in our funnel, what's not working with our metrics, and where we really need to refine if we want to 10x our business over the next year or two. So those are all things that you could figure out if you kind of take a look at lessons you learned about your business. Hard ones, soft ones, easy ones, good ones. Take a look at everything from this kind of holistic point of view so you can really shape what's going to make the biggest difference for you in 2018, because less is more. All right, we've gone through our achievements. We've taken a stroll down memory lane. We've kind of looked at what we've learned, what we didn't. The next thing I want you to look at are disappointments. That kind of feels like a negative word. It is negative, but another way you could think about it is, what really frustrated this year? What did you try that didn't work out? Or what were some challenges you ran into? Or something unexpected that popped up? These things are good to help you figure out either what to pivot, or whether it's a process problem, or an offer problem or a product problem, depending on where you fall on the spectrum, whether you're service-based or product-based. So if you can take a look and figure out, this did not work so well and why, it helps you get a lot further this next year so you're not repeating the same things over and over. On the next page, when you get into the second one, this is something that a lot of people don't ask you, but you need to kind of know what metrics you should be looking at to figure out what does growth mean for you in your business. How do you know if you grew? That's basically what it boils down to. And if you're not even sure how to answer that, then you need some marketing metrics in your business. So where do you even start? What metrics can you track? That's an entirely different topic that I should probably do a live on or something. But to get started, think about what makes sense for your business. I have a lot of coaches I work with. So for example, coaches, one way for you to measure, is looking at the number of discovery calls or whatever you want to call your calls you have, to figure out if people are a good fit for you versus the number of deals you actually close, whether that's, doesn't matter what type of package it is, kind of what's your closing rate and what's that ratio look like? Because that's going to be the most important number for you to figure out if you're hitting your revenue goals, is if you can close the deals. Then you can take a step back and okay, how am I getting people to the discovery calls? Is it an opt-in? What's that process look like? And you just start working backwards. But the most important number for this revenue marketing I'm talking about are how well are you closing deals. If you're a blogger, for example, some metrics you want to look at are either going to be page views and traffic versus whatever you're driving them towards, whether that's towards clicking on a button, which are call to action, whether that's opting into something, whether that's signing up for a course, going through a course, buying your product, whatever your end goal is, you're going to need to track what's happening right before that and how well that's converting, because that's going to equal your revenue. Now, one word of caution, when you think about metrics or how you typically measure growth, I want you to not get bogged down on list numbers or social media numbers. Don't even worry about those. Yes, they're important. Yes, they do equal growth, but they don't equal it in the way you think they would. So list numbers are fantastic unless you know if it's a responsive list or not. You may have 1 billion people on your list, but if 0.1% opens it, that's not really great, right? You want to have a healthier opt-in rate. So you should be looking, or open rate, you should be looking at different numbers than just number on your list, number of likes, number of followers, number of people in your group. Those are all signs of growth, but they don't show you how healthy your business is and if you're on track to actually grow in a sustainable way. So just don't freak out about those. Think about the ones that actually make sense for your business and bring money into your thing. Okay, so once you look at goals, or once you look at your growth, I want you to look back. Did you set goals for 2017? And if so, did you accomplish them? Now, this is important not to make you feel bad, but also to look at, okay, if I did set goals, did I achieve them or not, and why or why not? Sometimes it's helpful because you can see, oh, I totally forgot about this, which means you either need a different process to track your goals, or you need to see, is that goal still important? Was there, what's the reason behind you not accomplishing it? Because you want to set yourself up for success for this year. You don't want to set goals that you forget about by March and never check in again and just have this non-existent plan. Once you set this is supposed to be your foundation for kind of where you take your business this year, and you want it to be as simplified as possible. So let's make sure there's no kinks, no way for you to jump off the path here, and look at, okay, how do I make sure that I'm kind of tackling these goals, and did I miss something that I need to get back on? The last thing I want you to do before we get to the fun yellow sheet is kind of look at this, where are you going type question. If you are not a visual person, this may feel like a hard thing for you, but I want you to just think about it in this terms. What does freedom look like to you? Because I have a hunch, if you're like most entrepreneurs that I work with, you're starting this business, or you started this business because you want some sort of freedom, whether that's freedom of time, whether that's freedom of more money, whether that's freedom to do the things you want to do within your role or within your scope or your zone of genius, however you want to say that. You're looking for some kind of freedom. And what does that look like for you? What does success look like for you? For some of us, it's going to be specific numbers. Others, it's going to be experiences. I know for me, I don't set a lot of number goals because I really want to set lifestyle goals. So for me, the reason I do a lot of things in my business is because I want to hit benchmarks for my family. I want to be able to hit special things to do with my kids, or trips to take them on, or a nicer house, or, the list can go on and on. That's why I don't set always numbers goals, because for me, it's more tangible and it's more of an incentive for me to tie it into why I'm doing this. So that's kind of where this vision question comes into, and it starts to make you think about, okay, I'm not just doing this business to do this business and work and become a workaholic. I'm doing it because it really matters to me for this reason, and then fill in the blank. All right, so if you've tracked with me so far, let me just review. We've gone over what kind of happened in 2017, how do we know if we're growing or not, and where do we kind of want to go. Now, this fun yellow page, this is kind of where we sum it up and kind of get to some of the number goals that are going to be important if you do track number goals. So the first one is going to be your revenue goal. You want to figure out, okay, what amount of money do I need to be making so that I feel like I was successful in quarter one? You can copy this as many times as you want if you want to keep doing it, or I can find a blank one if you don't want to have quarter one circled. But you want to have some kind of income goal that helps drive you so you can see, am I hitting it? Am I not? Do I need to tweak my stuff? Set your buy date. So whether that's, by March 31st, if you're going on quarter one, or whatever your dates look like. And break it down by month if you need to, if that makes more sense with how you function in your business. Or if you're like, no, I just want to hit X amount of dollars by end of quarter one, then just leave it at that. The number goal part is the numbers you need to hit this quarter so you can hit your revenue goal. So this is where you can kind of break it down into more of the listy social media stuff. Again, if you're a coach, figuring out, okay, what are the number of discovery calls I need to have because I know my closing rate is X. Or how many coffee chats do I need to have to hit Y? Or how many opt-ins do I need to have? How many trials do I need to have? How many people do I need to check out my membership? Depending on what type of platform that you are running your business on. What are the number goals that help you know you're on track to hit your revenue? All right, and then this one is a fun one for me to ask. It's not always a fun one to answer, but it's going to give you the most clarity about where to throw all of your eggs first. So focus. What's the number one thing you can focus on this quarter that will make the biggest difference in your business? So one way to think about that is if you've kind of gone through looking at what really worked, what didn't, knowing kind of what your revenue is, then it should kind of start to come into focus where you want to go. If you have no clue and you're like staring at this blank page, you're like, then just pause on this one, because the next two worksheets or pages, questions, will give you a whole lot more clarity and make it easier to come back to this one. Now, for those of you whimsical entrepreneurs of mine who enjoy setting words of the year or word of the season to kind of follow, this is a space for you to kind of think through what that might look like. I don't always love picking words. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I keep it for 2 years. Right now, I am focusing on the word freedom. I was kind of mulling around, if I had to pick a word, what would I pick? And I think freedom kind of sums up where I'm at in my journey and where I kind of want to go, because I really do want the things I talked about as far as what does success look. Right now, I'm really looking to free up more of my time so I can spend more time with all these kids I have, or more money to be able to do some really big goals my husband and I have set for ourselves this year, or freedom to do the kind of things I love doing when I'm able to work, right? So you want to do something that lights you up, figure out how to tie that into it. The last section, clarity. This is probably one you may not have seen before. It's kind of like a fill in the blank type question. And where I have found it really helpful is helping you pull out some of the blocks that's stopping you from getting the success you want. Because it's way easier to write down an answer honestly than it is to answer out loud. And I found that if I'm like, I am blah, 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 and I fill in the blank, I write something that is so honest that it almost makes me go, oh, yeah, that is actually how I really feel. And I would never tell anybody that, right? There's something about writing that allows you to get it out of your brain and doesn't allow you to filter and stop telling people. So these questions can just kind of help, again, kind of bring in this holistic view of you and where you want to go with 2018. by figuring out who you are, because especially if you're a solopreneur, which most of my clients are, you have a lot on your shoulders and you have a lot to go on, a lot to do, which means your brand falls on you. And if you're not stepping up and shining as bright as you want to be, then your business isn't going to shine as bright as you want it to. And the last piece of this is, what are your values? What kind of drives you and makes you run? Because you'll find that anytime there is friction in your business, you feel stuck, you feel like you just absolutely cannot make a decision, you feel like you suck, it's usually because a value of yours is out of whack, or you feel like it's being kind of, I can't think of the word right now, but discombobulated, that's not quite it, but there's some kind of friction there. So for example, I realize my values, my top values, and how I run my life and my business. Fun. I base a lot of things on how fun it's going to be, whether I do it or not. Authenticity is huge for me. I want to show up as a real person. And for so long, sales was really hard because I felt so sleazy and icky about it. And I hated that. So for me, it's about being authentic and having people see who I am. And that makes me feel a whole lot better about offering services that are paid. Connection is important to me. I want to make real connections with people. I'm an introvert who can be extroverted. But for me, it's figuring out, I want to make real connections with people. And so it's important for me to kind of be authentic to make those connections. Family is a huge one. I have 4 kids. I love to death. They're little. We are in a busy, crazy stage, finishing up potty training on my youngest. So it's important to me to show up, not only to model for them who I want to be as a mom and a woman and what dreams and goals can look like, but also for myself. I don't have that much time with them. Yeah, they're all little, but if you are a mom or if you've seen kids, you know how freaking fast they grow up. So for me, it's important to do things that stay in alignment and allow me to serve my family. And last one is kindness. I am a broken record on being kind. I swear I say it a billion times a day to my kids, be kind to each other, because that's kind of where I feel like my business thrives. I base everything out of kindness, which seems like a weird value to base it on. But if you're not kind in your business, then what are you? then where can you go? And how do you treat people? And how do you respond in situations that can feel really prickly? For me, my default is kindness. And so if I feel like I'm in conflict with something, that's the word I was looking for, conflict. I can go back and realize, okay, it's really important to me to be completely authentic. And when I'm trying to do this right now, I'm feeling totally authentic because I'm trying to force myself to be someone I'm not. And then I can take a step back and realize, okay, I either need to refigure what I'm doing right here or just completely drop it, because it's never going to work if I'm having this much resistance to doing something. So that's where values can come into play and be really valuable for you in your business. It helps you just realize how to get things done that are natural to you and your strengths. All right, so the last 2 sections kind of pulls it together when I talked about what's the what for you want to do in 2018. So first of all, it's easy to do a brain dump. Don't think you have to set goals right now. Just get thoughts out onto paper. Start writing anywhere on this section. I don't care if you use different colors. You write in a straight line. You write in columns. You scribble, scrabble, as my 4-year-old says. You just need to get ideas out of your head and don't even judge them whether they're good or bad, okay? Because once you get everything out, then you can start thinking seriously about them and figure out which ones are important to you. Which brings me to what matters most. So everything you could possibly do in your business, hashtag all the things, super popular right now. What's most important to you? This kind of ties back into that success thing. Like, what does success look like for you? And how do you figure out how to do it? I guess that'll be part 2 tomorrow. But if you know what success looks like for you, then it's going to be a whole lot clearer of that list you just created. What's most important for you to get done and still feel like it's a success at the end of 2018. And this last section, fight the fear. This one is looking at what's stopping you. Like, why didn't you already achieve these things in 2017? I don't think a lot of people get asked that question. We're just asked to set new goals, and that's okay. You just need to try harder, which is great. I'm all for cheerleading. But If you don't know what's stopping you or blocking you, you're not going to be any more successful in 2018. And so this one's kind of the same vein as the clarity section, where it's helpful to just kind of write out stream of conscious what you're thinking, because you tend to write the truth, the things you won't say to yourself out loud. So like, what are you afraid of? I should find here, I'll write, so I can find one. I wrote one down just this weekend. Let me find it for you. This was not planned, so give me a second. Okay, I'm afraid. So here's one important one for business that I wrote. I said, I am afraid of not doing everything in my business. I'm afraid of if I don't do everything, that it's not going to be enough and I'm not going to grow. Like sometimes I feel like if I just would do everything, that's the magic thing, right? It's all the things are going to make the difference. And if I just drop one thing, then I'm not going to be as successful as I could have been, which is insane, right? Like nobody does all the things. And so for me to write that out loud, I was like, oh yeah, that's dumb. Like there's no way I could do all the things. So why am I freaking out about doing other things? So this also kind of gives you a little bit of permission to let go of some things, which will be really helpful for you in actually accomplishing your 2018 goals. All right, so the last thing you do in this workbook for figuring out the what is to kind of sum it up into what 3 goals matter most to you. So look back at your worksheet and we just figured out what your brainstorm section was, what the ones that matter to you, and write why. Why do you want to do this goal? Why does it matter to you? And then the simplest way to start is just to write, so what happens next? So say you have a goal of doubling your coach, to doubling your discovery calls. So if that's your goal, your why is 1, because that means you'll be having more impact with people, you'll be increasing your revenue, and you must be increasing your visibility if you can get that many more people. So what happens, the very next step you need to do is figure out how people were finding out about you for discovery calls in 2017. So then you can see, was it a good process? Do I need to tweak it? Do I need something altogether different? Do I just need to drive more people to that thing because that thing was working pretty well? That's the very first thing I need to happen. I don't need to have 10 steps planned out, although I'm a planner, I like those. But sometimes just knowing what your very next step needs to be gives you the space and the freedom to like accomplish that thing. And then you're like, okay, done. Now what's next? It's when we think we have to have it all figured out that we get froze. No. So when we freeze and we don't start at all, which would be detrimental to your business, okay? So just think about literally what is the very next thing you need to do to get started. All right, so that sums up this Goal Crushing Part 1 workbook. This is kind of looking at the holistic view of kind of where you want to go. You'll notice it's very absent of the how, all right? So the how piece is going to come in tomorrow, and I will give you the second part of the workbook, which walks you through the tactical ways of, okay, you have goal 1, 2, and 3 figured out. Loosely, you have figured out what happens next. Now, what's the tactical side of the things you need to do? How does the visibility plan come in? How does the messaging come in? How does the tools come in? Like all that stuff. How do I do that? How do I make it work and become a reality? So that's what I will be tackling on the call tomorrow. So thank you so much. I hope it's helpful. As always, if you have questions, get stuck on anything, just shoot me an email at mallory@malloryslaball.com. That's MALLORYSCHLAB as in boy, ACH.com. Or you can find me on Facebook, same name. Happy to hop on a call, answer any question with you, and help you figure out where you should be going. Because I just know 2018 is going to be amazing for you. It's going to be amazing for me. And we should totally celebrate this together with tacos because it's my favorite thing ever. So have a great night, and I will talk with you guys tomorrow.